Imagine waking up one morning and realizing that the highway you drive on, the estate you live in, and the factory that powers your community are all built, financed, or operated by companies from the same foreign country. That's not a movie plot. That is quietly becoming Jamaica's reality. Over the last 2 decades, Chinese companies and banks have committed roughly $6 billion to Jamaica through investments, loans, and announced megaprojects. We're talking about toll roads that cut your travel time in half. Entire housing schemes built and financed by Chinese firms. Multi-billion-dollar plans for industrial zones and logistics hubs. On paper, it looks like investment and development. But step back and look at the map and a different question starts to emerge. Is Jamaica leveling up or quietly becoming China's Caribbean gateway? In this video, we're going to follow the money and break down all the details. The major Chinese-funded highways and road projects. The big housing schemes from affordable units to upscale villas. The industrial and bauxite projects that lock in long-term control. And the logistics and SEZ plans that could shape Jamaica's future role in the region. By the end, you'll be able to decide for yourself whether this $6 billion relationship is smart strategy or dangerous dependency. If you care about where Jamaica is really heading, you're in the right place. Before we dive in, do me a quick favor, hit like, so more Jamaicans and people in the diaspora see this video. Subscribe to Evolve Jamaica for deep dives on mega projects in Jamaica. And tap the notification bell so you don't miss when we break down the next big deal. Alright, let's start with how China's money first started reshaping Jamaica. Jamaica and China established formal diplomatic relations way back in 1972. For decades, that relationship was mostly symbolic handshakes and cultural exchanges. The real shift came in the 2000s. By 2011, Chinese foreign direct investment in Jamaica was just $40 million. By 2016, it had jumped to $839 million. Add in loans from Chinese state banks, and between 2005 and 2022, we're talking about around $2.1 billion in development financing. But why Jamaica? First strategic location, Jamaica sits on major shipping routes between North and South America. It's close to the Panama Canal. For China's global trade ambitions, especially under the Belt and Road Initiative, Jamaica is prime real estate. Second, there's a desperate need for infrastructure. Our roads were crumbling, our ports needed upgrades, and we didn't have the money. Western lenders came with strict conditions. China offered big financing with fewer visible strings. Third, there is the build, operate, transfer model. Chinese companies don't just lend money, they build the projects, operate them for decades under concessions, collect revenue, and eventually hand them over. On paper, Jamaica gets infrastructure now and ownership later. How that plays out in reality is still unfolding. In 2019, Jamaica officially signed onto China's Belt and Road Initiative. From that point, the relationship moved from friendly to strategic. Highways are the skeleton of a country. Whoever finances and builds your main arteries has influence you can't ignore. North-South Highway. Completed in 2016, this highway connects Ocho Rios in the north to Spanish Town in the south, running through St. Anne and St. Catherine and changing how Jamaicans move between Kingston and the North Coast. Financing, about $457 million in loans from the China Development Bank, plus equity from CHEC, bringing total project value to over $600 million. Builder and operator, China Harbour Engineering Company has a 50-year toll concession. Until roughly 2066, every toll paid on that highway fuels a foreign operator. Southern Coastal Highway Improvement Project, Jamaica's largest road project. Started in 2017, with deadlines pushed from 2022 to 2023 to 2025 and now March 2027. Funded by the China Exim Bank, about $326.4 million in loans. Built by CHEC. Scope: 141 kilometers of reconstructed roads, 248 kilometers of water pipelines, 140 kilometers of fiber optic ducts. It's reshaping the eastern and southern coasts, cutting travel time from Kingston to Port Antonio and pushing land values. But over 255 structures were demolished, including the historic Bull Bay Police Station from the 1800s. Communities have paid a price for this development. Highway 2000 and Montego Bay Perimeter Road. The wider Highway 2000 now represents about $1.3 billion United States dollars in total investment, much of it under Chinese financing and concession models. The Montego Bay Perimeter Road, estimated at about $274 million United States dollars, is being built by Chinese contractors to divert traffic from downtown Mo Bay and unlock new real estate and tourism opportunities. The Kingston Container Terminal Modernization. Now, from roads to ports. Since 2015, a multi-hundred million US dollar modernization program has deepened Kingston Harbour and expanded wharves, pushing the Kingston Container Terminal's capacity to around 3.2 million TEUs, with room for growth. Kingston Harbour is the 7th largest natural harbour in the world and one of the Caribbean's main transshipment hubs. Most of the containers that pass through are not for us, they're in transit. That makes this port a strategic prize. Now let's move from where we drive to where we live. Chinese firms are increasingly involved in housing, from luxury villas to affordable schemes. Mammy Bay Roaring River Mega Development. In Mammy Bay, St. Anne, CHEC is developing a massive gated project on 700+ acres of prime land, one of the most beautiful coastal stretches in Jamaica. Hundreds of units are planned. Construction is underway. Jamaicans have raised environmental concerns, questions about affordability, and concerns about who really controls these lands. It's being sold as economic and tourism-driven growth, but it also shifts ownership of critical coastal real estate. As part of the North-South Highway deal, CHEC got access to land along the route. Now, on that land, they're building high-end villas in tourism corridors. So they're not just collecting tolls, they're monetizing the land itself. Infrastructure plus land rights equals real estate goldmine. Catherine Estates, Bernard Lodge Affordable Housing. At Bernard Lodge, more than 1,000 starter units are being developed under the Jamaica Affordable Housing Framework with Chinese partners and the NHT. But, a 500 square feet studio in Kingston listed at 18 million Jamaican dollars is completely out of reach for most single middle-class Jamaicans. Even with NHT assistance, you often need dual incomes, careful planning, or family wealth. So the question is, affordable for who? Modular, prefab homes, disaster and eco-housing. China International Contractors Corporation, CICC, is pushing modular, prefab homes for individuals, eco-resorts, and disaster relief. At the same time, the PIOJ has flagged over 700 communities in Jamaica as vulnerable because of poor housing and climate risk. In a future of stronger hurricanes and climate shocks, whoever supplies emergency housing, including Chinese firms, will have serious influence over how and where Jamaicans rebuild. Now let's talk about the big industrial plays, where economic control gets baked in for decades. JISCO Alpart Plant and the Jamaica Gansu Industrial Park. In 2016, JISCO, owned by China's Gansu province, bought the Alpart bauxite and alumina operation in Nain, St. Elizabeth, for $299 million United States dollars. The refinery had been closed since 2009. JISCO restarted it in 2017, then shut it again in 2019 for modernization. In 2018, Gansu announced plans to invest up to $6 billion United States dollars in a Jamaica Gansu Industrial Park and Special Economic Zone around Alpart. Planned features: $1.1 billion United States dollars refinery expansion, a new aluminium smelter, an LNG power plant, housing and infrastructure for up to 60,000 workers. If built as advertised, it would be the largest single investment in Jamaica's history. But as of now, the refinery remains closed. Government has announced a phased reopening starting late 2025, and there's still uncertainty over how much of that $6 billion United States dollars will ever actually materialize. COMPLANT, a Chinese state-owned firm, took over several former state sugar estates. The results have been mixed: investment and some jobs, but also heavy losses, closures, tensions with farmers and unions, and big questions about whether this has truly benefited Jamaica. Not every Chinese project is a clean success story. For years, Jamaica has had a big vision: become a regional logistics hub using ports, highways and special economic zones to attract manufacturing and trade. China is positioned as a key partner in that dream. Caymanas Special Economic Zone, a 10,000-acre master-planned area in St. Catherine, about 583 acres earmarked for industrial use with direct access to Kingston via Highway 2000 and potentially a revived railway. Not a Chinese project yet, but open to Chinese investors and tenants for light manufacturing, BPO, warehousing and IT services. Kingston Logistics Park, an 80-acre logistics park near Norman Manley International Airport. In 2017, CHEC was awarded a $25.8 million United States dollars contract for the first phase. The goal: integrate air, sea and land logistics into one connected hub. Who really runs Kingston Port? The Kingston Container Terminal is operated by Kingston Freeport Terminal Limited, a company tied to France's CMA-CGM and China Merchants Port Holdings, a Chinese state-owned enterprise. So it's not a Chinese port outright, but Chinese state-linked capital is baked into the ownership structure of one of the Caribbean's most strategic ports. In June 2025, a US CSIS report ranked Kingston as the riskiest port in Latin America and the Caribbean with a score of 70.7 out of 100, largely because a Chinese SOE is involved in operations. The port sits on vital Caribbean shipping lanes, and it's only about 170 miles from US Naval Station Guantanamo Bay. To the US, that's not just trade, that's a potential intelligence and security concern. Goat Islands, the port that never happened. In 2014, CHEC proposed a mega transshipment port on the Goat Islands in the Portland Bight protected area, with talk of 10,000 jobs. After massive backlash from environmental groups and local communities, the project was cancelled. Goat Islands proved one thing: public resistance can still block even the biggest Chinese-backed projects. So how do we get to this $6 billion United States dollars figure? Think of it in 4 buckets. 1. Infrastructure loans, about $2.1 billion United States dollars. From China Exim Bank and China Development Bank for highways, roads and other infrastructure. 2. Direct foreign investment, roughly $839 million United States dollars as of 2016, likely over $1 billion United States dollars by now. This includes stakes in Alpart, housing developments, industrial and logistics projects. 3. Announced mega projects, JISCO Gansu Industrial Park, up to $6 billion United States dollars, announced not yet fully realized. Kingston Container Terminal modernization, hundreds of millions under a long-term concession. Southern Coast Highway Improvement Project, $326.4 million United States dollars. North-South Highway, $457 million United States dollars. Plus various housing and industrial schemes worth hundreds of millions more. 4. Development assistance, about $409.7 million United States dollars. In 2024 alone, China was Jamaica's top bilateral development partner by value of loans and grants. Add all of that together with some overlap between loans and project-level estimates and you get a ballpark of around $6 billion United States dollars in Chinese funding and commitments tied to Jamaica over the last 2 decades. Important clarification: this isn't one check. It's a mix of money already disbursed and big announced plans that may or may not fully materialize. It's a web of loans, concessions, and projects that has woven Chinese capital into some of Jamaica's most strategic assets. Let's be balanced because this isn't black and white. Some of the benefits are: 1. Faster infrastructure. Jamaica simply didn't have the cash to build these highways and upgrades alone. Chinese financing moved things faster. 2. Jobs and economic activity. Construction and operational jobs, business for local suppliers, and more economic activity around project sites. 3. Improved connectivity, shorter travel times, better logistics, and more efficient movement of goods and people. 4. Hub potential. If the logistics vision works, Jamaica could genuinely become a manufacturing and distribution hub for the Caribbean and Latin America. Risks. 1. Debt and dependence. We owe Chinese lenders billions. Chinese loans are roughly 4% of Jamaica's public debt, about 80 billion Jamaican dollars out of 2 trillion Jamaican dollars, but they're concentrated in highly strategic projects. 2. Long-term concessions. CHEC collects tolls on the North-South Highway until about 2066. That's 50 years of revenue going overseas. 3. Jobs and labor tensions. Complaints from local unions about imported Chinese labor and Jamaicans being sidelined on some projects have been loud. 4. Environmental and social impacts. From bauxite pollution to coastal developments and the 255 structures demolished for the Southern Coast Highway Improvement Project, communities are carrying real costs. 5. Strategic leverage. When foreign firms operate your highways, ports and industrial zones, renegotiating terms later becomes very difficult. 6. Geopolitical pressure. In March 2025, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio publicly warned about Chinese predatory practices in Jamaica. The U.S. is watching closely and Jamaica is stuck balancing two superpowers. So what happens next? Here are 3 possible futures. Scenario 1. Best case, smart gateway. Jamaica negotiates smart deals, protects the public interest, and uses Chinese capital to build assets that we ultimately control. We attract investment from China, the US, Europe, and the region. We build a real logistics and manufacturing hub. And Jamaica becomes a strategic winner, not a pawn. Scenario 2. Worst case, dependency trap. Debt piles up, projects stall, strategic highways, ports and industrial parks remain under foreign control. When we try to renegotiate, we're told, "You signed the contract." If relations sour, we find ourselves locked into infrastructure we can't fully control, under terms we can't easily change. Jamaica becomes a cautionary tale of what happens when a small country leans too heavily on one power. Scenario 3. Balanced path, walking the tightrope. Jamaica manages relationships with China, the US and others carefully. We strengthen our institutions. We push for transparency. We use public pressure to keep deals fair. We build with Chinese help but insist that Jamaican workers, businesses and communities benefit. We don't become anyone's client state. We stay strategic partners with everyone but dependent on no one. Here's the bottom line. $6 billion United States dollars in Chinese-linked investment and commitments is not something Jamaica can ignore. It's reshaping our highways, our housing, our industrial capacity, and our ports. It's creating jobs but it's also raising hard questions. It's building infrastructure we desperately needed, but at what long-term cost? So here's my question to you. Which Chinese project in Jamaica do you see as the biggest opportunity? And which one worries you the most? Do you think we're building a Jamaican gateway that serves everybody? Or are we quietly becoming China's Caribbean gateway? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If this video opened your eyes, hit like and share it with your friends and family. Subscribe to Evolve Jamaica for more deep dives on mega projects, money, and power. And turn on notifications so you don't miss the next one. Because we're just getting started. This is Evolve Jamaica.